Welcome to the podcast, everyone. We have a special episode today of Changing Lives Selling Knives, which is squarely addressing the audience of Cutco reps, primarily those who are college students, with a message about how to get the most out of your Cutco Vector experience. I'm with Jeff Gamboa. Jeff has been in the business since 1997, was an all-star sales rep, has been a amazing manager for many years. He is the division manager of the Florida Caribbean division. And he was featured on the podcast in episode number 21. You can go back and check that out if you want to hear a lot more about Jeff's story and Jeff's lessons. But let's start out, Jeff. Well, first of all, welcome to the podcast today, and thanks for making time.
Yeah, part two. This is fun. Thanks for having me back. I wasn't sure if I'd earn a spot back, but this is great. I mean, I'm enjoying this already. Thank you.
Yes. Well, you can have a spot anytime on this, Jeff. You're definitely one of the favorites company-wide. And why don't you remind people briefly about your path through college with Cutco? Sure.
I started back in 1997. And so at the time, I was coming off of my freshman year at the University of Maryland, College Park. So it was a rising sophomore, and I'd realized very quickly after 2 semesters of school how much money I could spend in a very quick amount of time. And parents wanted me to pitch in. All kind of came together with me needing to look for a job. And so I was a personal recruit. A friend of mine was actually a branch manager. So if you're listening, Joanna Ponsalinos, thank you again. 23 years and 24 summers later. Thank you, Joanna.
Amazing.
Yeah. And I try to call her every year on my launch birthday just to say thank you. But she recommended me, and I remember watching Joanna all the time just be flush with income. I remember her always having money. I remember her always dressed up professional, and come to find out she was a Cutco branch manager. And so I went from Cutco rep in 1997. I was a scholarship winner. I was actually number 1 in the company for that summer campaign. And like we're going to talk about today, I got into the Leadership Academy, and our version of that back in the old Oriole division run by Fred Glazier. If you're old school Cutco, you'll know how cool that is. And so Fred was my division manager. And that really just set the tone for what probably I'm going to talk about here, because I advanced to the ranks of Leadership Academy. At the time for me, it was something cool to build my experience in my resume, and no intent of being with the company. And then it went from that to becoming a branch manager in 1999. And then from there, creating career options. And it was really interesting because by my senior year, I took those experiences, and I'd heard, and Dan, as you know, we've run so many conferences. I heard, the Vector experience, it will separate you. And I put it to the test. I said, well, let me really see, as a pre-med major, is what they're saying true? Well, sales skills inevitably transfer to all facets of life. And so I went on 15 different job interviews, a mix of med schools, business schools, grad schools, and most of them, the majority of the interviews were high-end sales positions. And I went 15 for 15 on jobs. It was awesome. And everything that my managers, from Fred to at that point in time, Mike Lancelot to Al DiLeonardo, all these Vector legends, everything they said was true. And fun fact, I went 15 for 15 on interviews, and only 5 asked me my GPA and only 3 asked me my major. But all 15 reference Vector marketing, selling Cutco, and running a branch office. And to me, like, if I wasn't sold then, that's what I needed to really understand the experience. And ultimately, I chose to stay as a district manager in 2000 when I graduated, my hometown in Baltimore. And then from there led to a quick division manager promotion to the then DC Metro division, and then took that division for close to a decade, and then asked to relocate down here to South Florida in the Caribbean. So since 2010, I've been operating Florida Caribbean. At one point for the last few years, Florida United, which is a collection of divisions. And here we are today, 24 summers and 23 years later. So that's my quick story. Crazy.
That's awesome, Jeff. Now, I know that your direct experiences that you had led you to coin the phrase Cutco Thru College. Tell us how and why you pioneered this concept in this program.
Yeah, it's interesting because, and as you know, having been a trainer before for Cutco, the interviewing experience that we go through as college students, our ability to share the shared experience with our students it's a big, powerful part of our training program. So for years, I mean, years and years and years, I was starting my initial day one of Cutco training. I was starting my initial interviews for Leadership Academy at the time. I was starting my first September Leadership Academy prep with some version of this can help you for your future and it's worth your time. In some years, I said it in a more fancy way, or fancier way rather. In other ways, I just got straight to the point, but the overall message was the same. It's that this can help you, it's worth your time, and regardless of your path, this can help you. Mm-hmm. And, things that were always promoted were the catch-22, right? The catch-22 being no one will give you as a young person a job without experience, yet how do you get experience without a job? That for 2 decades now has been the case. And for me, I think the official Cutco Thru College term and just the coining that phrase, I guess as I get older, I get more appreciative of what we do and how we do things here. And we have an unbelievable product. And I'm not talking about our great Cutco knife product, although it's second to none. I think we have a great product that I believe in, but more importantly, I've lived and I've been able to implement that young people can use. It's of great value, but the challenge is it wasn't connecting. So I said, in planning and really self-reflection and coaching, how do we get this program of Cutco management, leadership, and sales skills training out there, and how does it stick? How do we get people to go, oh, wait a minute, yeah, I need that. And I found this is my favorite example, Dan. I think there's a gap, right? So for example, if I want to be an all-star athlete, I'm a big Max Preps fan. I love watching high school students get recruited to college, and then they're in the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball years later. If I want to be an elite athlete, I know exactly which camps to get invited to. I know exactly which camps to register for. If I want to be in the political arena, I know I need to try and get onto the Model UN in my local area, and then maybe perhaps get invited to Washington, D.C. If I want to be a doctor, I find the hospital. But if I'm a student who maybe doesn't know what I want to do, which by the way makes, I don't know, someone normal, I think at 18, 19 years old,
right.
Not all of us know we want to be a surgeon or a nurse or a lawyer at 18 or 19. But if I'm still willing to work hard to gain skills and not be left behind, if I'm willing to still put the work in and not, miss my opportunities at a young age to get skills, what do? Well, there's a gap. And I said, we fill the gap. We fill the gap with Leadership Academy. It's universal. It's leadership. It's success skills, which is for any major. It's translatable. It's skills that apply to all passions and career. People who are wired to go to a 4-year college, people who drop out, people who want to run startups, people who, you name it. And that gap is not easy to fill, but I feel like we really can fill that. And I think we're the largest college student and high school recruiting company in North America. And I think the fact that we have this program really does make us different, because any major company, Apple, Nike, Adidas, you name it, they have a Leadership Academy. What is it corporately? Leadership Academy is designed to help a company elevate its best people.
Yep.
Right. And create leaders. We're no different. But what does make us different is our age demographic. No one works with 17 to 25-year-olds more than we do. And so I think it's not that we're trying to corner a market, but we are that market. Right? Cutco Thru College means, and when we said our first meeting, I remember going, hey guys, I want to talk to you about Cutco Thru College. And I even put a little hashtag in the front because that seemed to get everyone's attention. I said, hashtag Cutco Thru College. And I got all these looks from the managers. And I remember saying that. I said, you know what Cutco Thru College is? It's regardless of what you want to do in the future, whether you know for sure what kind of doctor, or lawyer, or nurse, or you're totally unsure, whether school's for you, whether it's not, regardless, it's when you use our programs to gain the money you want to make, develop the skills you need to develop, and build the resume you want so that when you graduate, you can go and get that. And I just remember it was just the silence. It was a division meeting. There were like 300 people, and it's just a bunch of like nodding heads. And I said, we got it. This is it.
Yeah.
This is it. And so that's where we coined the phrase Cutco Thru College.
Yeah. Awesome. What are the benefits that you see of doing Cutco Thru College? Like what are the specific things that people gain?
Yeah, different years, I've said it different ways, but at the end of the day, it comes down to what I call the big 5. And when I think of the big 5 categories, it's an 8-month program starting in September. where students, regardless of major, will be able to learn 5 things: how to manage time, money, energy, others, and yourself. And when I think of, what are the gaps we need to fill? What do great doctors and lawyers and entrepreneurs need to know? Time, money, energy, others, and self. And for me, what I always say to our students, and as we promote it in our region and even in the company, I say working on those 5 with intention, working on those 5 with support, and working on those 5 with enthusiasm will develop you into what we have called a 5-star graduate. In fact, that's like that's our divisional mantra. It's on the bottom of our letterhead. It says creating 5-star graduates. And back to max preps and high school athletes. A 5-star athlete is one that other colleges will come to recruit. They need not apply, if you will, because everyone knows who they are. They're that good of an athlete. Well, for us, a 5-star graduate is someone who graduates where the medical schools will go after, the grad school programs will go after, that MBA program with a paid internship abroad will go after, because they're a 5-star graduate. They've got the skills on time, money, energy, others, and self that make them so attractive. And I think, to me, regardless of what someone wants to do, standing out like that can be of major benefit to them.
Yeah. Are those are the elements of, developing into a 5-star graduate? It's understanding how to manage time, how to manage money, how to manage their energy, how to manage others, how to manage themselves.
Absolutely. In fact, a couple of quick examples. For time, for example, even something as simple as executive planner usage, not just write it down or set an alarm on my phone, but how do executives plan? How do they stretch the calendar, not just for the month or the week or the year, but the next few years? For money, one of the things I can tell you is I am money trained, not from any school classing or not from my parents, but I'm money trained because of my Cutco experience. So investing, credit score, how to build wealth at a young age. For energy, it's mental management, the ability to create your best version of you daily. And how to start the day strong. Sometimes fitness routines and energy of what we eat. Managing others, for example, employee management, how to motivate groups, how to motivate individuals. And of course, all 4 on those lists don't make a difference unless you can do the last one, which is manage yourself. So how do you sustain high levels of productivity and efficiency and energy? And I think those are the 5 things that really are encompassed when you think of a 5-star graduate.
Yeah. And so when somebody has spent their college years with Cutco and has gone through the Leadership Academy, they're able to clearly demonstrate to anyone looking to recruit them that they have these 5 abilities and a whole lot more.
Yeah. And it's ironically enough, if someone's that talented where, big 5 consulting company is going to want to recruit them, or top 3 med school is going to recruit them. Well, we also tend to recruit those people too, right? Like we want opportunities for them to be with us. So I think anytime I've talked to someone, whether they chose to stay with us or not, when I ask, hey, you're a 5-star graduate, you've got these skills, tell me about your interviews, it's always revolving around their experience, their understanding, and their comfortability with those 5 topics.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. What makes you so passionate about this, Jeff?
A mentor of mine asked me to go through an exercise, and these 4 circles. And John, if you're listening, the 4 facets of life. And one said passion at the top, one said talents, the other one said lifestyle, and the other one said world impact. And it was just, it was probably a year or 2 process of going through, filling in these lists. And one of the top of the list of passions was legacy for me. Just being able to, have a legacy of influence and a legacy of people that can attribute things they've learned or their life today from influence, perhaps of myself for a couple of years or even for a short moment of time. And then under world impact for me was mentorship in youth, like developing youth. So, this is just right up my alley, being able to impact people. And, the greatest calls for me aren't the big sales calls. It's I just graduated from, blank university. Jeff, I got the job of my dreams. Thank you. And it was all worth my time, since high school or since college. So I'm super passionate about that. Never gets old to hear that story.
Yeah. You've been in the company now 23 years. Jeff. For me, it's 32 years.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it's pretty weird for anyone of our ages. I have to say ages because yours is a decade different than mine. It's
Correct.
pretty weird for our ages for someone to have been in the same job since they were 17 or 18 or 19 years old.
Hmm.
And I'm often asked why I'm still doing the same thing that I started doing, 32 years ago. And there's a number of reasons, of course, in terms of the financial opportunity that Vector has provided me and the flexibility and, the fun and the people. But the one thing that would be very difficult to get anywhere else, I feel like I could get the income and I could get a lot of the other things in other places. But the one thing that would be very difficult to get in a lot of other jobs is the impact, right? It's like we have an opportunity as leaders in Vector and Cutco to influence people at a time that is so important in their lives
Right.
and really make a difference by providing them with the mental traits and the skills and abilities to become amazing at everything they do.
Yeah.
And that's that factor of impact is certainly one of the things that has made me passionate about being here for so long as well.
Yeah. And Dan, you can relate to this. How many times for me, it's my wedding and it was my 40th, and both were, more or less parties and celebrations of life and great events. And it's always awesome bringing people outside of my Cutco circle to my 40th or to my wedding. And then they talk to our Cutco crew. They talk to the district managers or top reps that are, in attendance. And they're just so blown away at, I always get one of them, I have a good friend, he's a physician. He pulled me aside. He goes, man, like you've raised these kids, huh? I said, I really have. I really have. And, that, like I said, never gets old, but it really is such a driving factor, mentorship and being able to provide impact. So it's been awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
And hey, we're both in our 40s, Jeff. So maybe I could just say our age instead of our ages.
That's right.
Although that's good. That's going to change in a few months. So anyway, what are your observations on Gen Y and the current marketplace?
Yeah. I think Gen Y is so talented and so ambitious, so energetic, so vocal, right? I think those are strengths. But at the same token, they have some of the worst stereotypes, and not for everyone, but unfortunately, a lot of times they're true, right? You hear things like lazy or entitled, maybe a lack of respect. And here's what I found. And Dan, you can relate as a trainer of young people. It's not that the generation is, fill in the blank. It's just that they may not have found an avenue to pull the best out of them. And I think what's great about Vector is that our job inherently is to pull the best out of people, young people specifically. And so I have this slide at my meetings that says Generation Y, and then it changes into Generation Why Not, right? Why not? And whenever I find myself speaking and saying, hey, maybe you're just misunderstood, or maybe you just need the right platform, that's when I get the most head nods, and it's skills, right? Applicable skills nowadays, more than ever, are more important than perhaps just book knowledge. The ability to apply skills. And one example I give to my students all the time for a decade now is that future employers, the experience I had in my interviews, talking to students, even in the last 5 years who have graduated from our program and are just successful in their field, employers and people who are providing opportunities are looking for students who can take more on their plate versus just really good at one thing.
Mm.
Right. So for example, and I always like to use my wife as an example. She didn't have the highest grades. She wasn't the valedictorian of her med school class. She's a very successful physician right now, but she really gives a lot of credit to, she was just diversified. And she had done things that put her out there to be able to connect with patients. And she had done, different experiences that most traditional doctors didn't do. And I think that's what we're trying to provide. We're trying to provide something different so that they can take more on their plate, right? Anyone can have a great GPA and internships, but I actually wrote this down. The three things that I think we give that separate our students, it's work ethic, it's capacity, and it's the applicable soft skills. So when we can provide, a proven work ethic, a bigger capacity to do not just get school grades, but I was able to sell Cutco, do management training, run a branch office, train for a branch office, get my grades. I'm social. I have a life outside of Cutco, capacity. And then of course the applicable soft skills that we talked about, the big five earlier. Man, to me, you give a student that opportunity, they're going to have significantly more offers, significantly more opportunities than someone who's just, let's say, a great student or just great at one, portion of the gamut.
Yeah, that so much good stuff right there, Jeff. When you talked about applicable skills are more important than just book knowledge. That's a huge point. And then employers are looking for people who can take more on their plate, right? These two ideas, I really would like everybody, if you're in a, if you're a Cutco rep somewhere, to take those two concepts in, because those two concepts right there are truly the essence of why working Cutco Thru College is so valuable, why it's so critical to augment your education with this real world training and experience at the same time. Is you're proving in the marketplace that you can take more on your plate, that you have that proven work ethic, that you can balance a lot of activities, which is going to be really important, more and more important the older you get. And you also have this set of applicable skills that are universal across, so many different types of jobs. Right. That to me, like, that sums it up right there, why this is so much more valuable than anything else anybody could do during their college years.
Yeah. And Dan, to that point, I don't think a med school, I don't think a big thriving, top 500 corporation that's recruiting a student, I don't think they're looking at a 21-year-old going, okay, I want a masterful student. Where do they provide mastery in an area of life? What can they bring to the business? Right. I think what they're looking for is who can spin the most plates. Right. We'll give you that experience. But if you can spin more plates, if you can do more at the same time and do it all at a high level, well, that's someone we can develop. That's someone we would put our time into.
Right. So. And that really does differ from what most people gain from a traditional internship as Correct. Well. Like, I have heard a lot of young people who say, well, after my one summer or my 2 summers with Cutco, between my junior and senior year, I'm going to get an internship at, a big, one of the big tech companies here in Silicon Valley, for example, or, a big accounting firm where they can feel like they're doing something that's very specifically related to their major. The problem with that is that, having Google on your resume, for example, is certainly a door opener. There's no doubt about that. But once that door is open, the interviewer is going to ask you, hey, so that internship at Google, tell me this, what did you do?
Yeah.
What did you actually do in that internship? And the reality is that for most people, what they end up describing becomes, pretty much describing an errand boy or an errand girl. Right. Is the roles that they played in those internships. And there wasn't that same spinning of plates and that same learning of really applicable skills. They might've got some connections and they might've got that name on the resume, but that added power of the applicable skills and the being able to show how much activity you can balance, such a critical piece of this this puzzle of opening doors for people in the future that you really get from Cutco Thru College.
Yeah, and sometimes it's so easy. It's so easy to be they say you're too close to the forest to see the trees, right? So when I talk to a lot of my students, but Jeff, I need to have something in my major. I promise you, because I went through 15 interviews and all 15 asked me, there was one question that stood out and all 15 future employers asked me, tell me about a time, a situation where you were challenged. What was it and how did you overcome it? And they didn't say it maybe word for word like that, but it was the same question. Give me something hard that you willingly took on or came upon you, and how did you overcome that challenge? And the best part about the Cutco Thru College answer, it was a choice that we willingly went through that challenge. I ran a branch office. I willingly chose, just make my own startup campaign, to train for 8 months around school, to go and move to a different county in the state and start from scratch at 19 or 20 years old. So the fact that we're able to give, like you said, not the errand boy or errand girl answer, And my favorite part is, no, I willingly chose the harder path. I willingly chose something that was going to be very difficult for me. And here are the lessons I learned. That's what I think Cutco Thru College is. It provides a better conversation during that interview. That's
Yeah.
what I think.
And of course, also in this day and age now, the branch manager experience and a lot of the roles that people will play will have a virtual element to them that is going to be really the wave of the future in business. And so
Absolutely.
they're also gaining that piece of it as well right now. So that's awesome. That's awesome. Hey, Jeff, this has been awesome. Let me just wrap up by asking you about how you want to see Vector and Cutco impact and influence the world.
Yeah. 2 words, hotbed, right? I really would love, without us even having to say it, the premier hotbed for talent for college graduates and young leaders in America. If I'm a top 5 medical school, business school, nursing program, grad school, if I'm a startup looking for number 4, number 5 to join, I'm going to go to Vector Marketing. I'm going to look at, okay, who are the candidates that have gone through 3 or 4 years of Cutco Thru College? Let me interview them, because I know what I'm getting when I get a 5-star graduate from Vector Marketing. That's something, when I say it, I get chills. I think it's easy for us to get behind as a leadership team. We can stand behind that along with our unbelievable product and leadership. And we're going to be the company that people turn to when they want the best young leaders. They'll say, oh, you got to go to Cutco Thru College. Or, ready? My mom is giving me a hard time, Jeff. Yeah, my mom says I need to do Cutco Thru College because otherwise I'm not going to get that med school position. Like, I want that to be as common as it is for people to have said you need an internship. I want it to be more common for people to say, well, you need to do Cutco Thru College if you want to stand out before you graduate. That makes my heart sing.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, it's so cool to hear that, Jeff. And you really have been a pioneer in driving this program, and the promotion of this program all throughout the company. We're already moving in that direction. I know there are already tons of recruiters who go on LinkedIn and just search on Vector Marketing and look for people with our experience. And that's only going to grow in the years ahead. And you've been the tip of the spear in helping to really create this program and make it something really awesome in our company. So
yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Any last words?
Anyone that's listening to this, it's worth your time. It's worth your time to pour in, experience it, absorb it, and really just take what you can. Squeeze the juice as much as you can from this experience before you graduate. So, and good luck to all of you. Cheers.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Dan. Take care.
Jeff Gamboa, everyone, he really did say it all in that conversation, how Cutco Thru College can help people to gain those big 5 skills that are relevant to all of life, and how it can help our people to prove their work ethic and their ability to balance multiple responsibilities. That is truly what one gets out of spending their college years in the Cutco environment, going through our Leadership Academy program and being mentored by a lot of the amazing leaders that are here in the company. You eventually become someone that others will want through this experience. And that is so, so valuable because it provides you with security in the marketplace in any environment, in any circumstance. And that's one of the most important things that the Cutco skill set can do for you. Hey, Changing Lives Selling Knives features all sorts of amazing stories of people who have leveraged their Cutco experience to do incredible things in the marketplace. Have you heard the episode with Andrew Bosworth yet? He is one of the top executives at Facebook, helped build Facebook from the very early days. That is episode number 114. He spent 2 summers working with us, gaining really valuable experience. Hal Elrod, episode number 80. He spent much of his formative years working with Cutco, now international best-selling author and speaker. Lauren Gibbs, episode number 48. She spent her college years entirely with us while at Brown University. And she is a U.S. Olympian, who has competed and continues to pursue that goal and dream, and has an awesome story to tell in episode 48. Mike Arrieta, episode 86, is just a classic story of someone leveraging their Cutco Vector experience, also worked with us all throughout his entire college career. and has had an amazing track record of success and is now starting his own holding company. He's going to be sort of like a Warren Buffett of the future. And the guy's only 31 years old right now. So just incredible, incredible people that have been part of the company. Mike is episode 86. Check out those episodes. Check out your region managers episode, regardless of what region you're in. Your region manager has been featured recently. You can find all of the guest bios and descriptions and episodes at changinglivespodcast.com. You can also find a button there where you can sign up to receive free resources from me and from our awesome guests. Please sign up there and take a few moments to rate and or review the podcast. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, especially, it helps us get the word out about this great work that we are doing in the Cutco Vector organization and the truly global impact that we are having through all of the legions of great people who develop their skills and experiences here and then take those to the marketplace to help so many other people to change their lives for the better. Thanks so much for supporting the podcast, everyone.